The most the most interesting thing here with the meeting with encounter with William is actually the dices and the Buckminster Fuller and the dome and the sphere, and so how to prototype this in the that's also the overlap with the Great Works Alliance and the way we can work with the SDGs, work with the inner SDGs as well, or inner development goals, as they talk about them in Stockholm. And Ed, of course I met Pufferfish from Glasgow. Do you know them? Or from the Scotland?
Yeah, those guys, they project on the inside of globes.
The inside of the globes as an interface to navigate. And I talked with Ben Allen 2 or 3 days ago, because they're having like multiple big spheres to work on for the COP26 in Glasgow. And they really said, oh, give Ed Lantz best regards, and the IMAX from the Science Center of in Glasgow. They could probably be interesting to host any kind of like interactive stage collaborative structure if we are fast, And the other thing, and you and I, we have the overlap for next year for 2022 is actually the Library Alexandria in Egypt. And that is 20-year celebration, and you are the one that is producing that planetarium. And with William, it's like really coming from the meta skills of creativity for learning and accelerate learning. So and we're working on the Nordic or the North Sea code, Norse code, like the northern star, not the Stella Polaris, not the Lyra, but the Stella Polaris in the north as a guiding star. So we're really trying to, and what we want to do is to reach young people, and we try to do it in a shocking and a smashing way. I think it has to be done in a way that the Italian Renaissance that I think that Bill is coming from Rome and Italy and Florence and these kind of things. And
well, how about the Florentine Camerata, which is how opera was invented. A group of innovators came together, and they had these new instruments like the violin, and wanted to tell fantastic stories the way the Greeks used to, and they invented opera.
Ah, that's it.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about here is the 100% Gaia Fest, the Gaia story. But we can create many stories, like it's plenty of stories to have interactive distributed theater, etc. You want to say something, Lyra, yourself and Nate? Haven't seen you for some time. Or a week.
We're doing well, and I just wanted to say that we're entering this room in love and gratitude, working together to bring about the message of Gaia and bring it to the youth and adults, young adults, old adults, all. Let's find the symbiosis and synergy within these beautiful artistic collaborations, and let's start bringing the SoulSpark game and that whole opportunities that are out there to the people, so on the ground with getting into rolling the dice on the SDGs and the character strengths and virtues. And I'm just so glad that we're all meeting today together and being able to talk and discuss about this, because the restrictions are lifting. COVID is about to be not an issue anymore. And we can capitalize on that by getting these kinds of immersive environments established and ready to go on the ground everywhere, building those intentional communities through that exploration process. So this is exciting. Thank you.
Right on. And Lyra and Nate, thank you for bringing us all together. I appreciate this opportunity to connect. I think what's coming up for me, and Inger, is so good to connect again. I think what is really coming up for me is, yes, we want to build these dome creative placemaking centers in cities and towns, and a place for people to come together and do activities, group activities, but also have these incredible immersive experiences. Sort of a next generation community center slash, I call them digital temples of transformation, because it's a little church-like. You come into this sacred space and you reproject reality, but it can be many different realities, not just the biblical worldview, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I think the real immediate opportunity here, that longer term build out vision aside, is that there are 1,700 digital domes in the world already. Every city has a digital dome. I refer you guys to Glasgow, which is a planetarium that I designed quite some years ago. Was installed. It's probably been through a couple renovations since, who knows. But because the digital equipment always gets upgraded, it goes obsolete in 5 years, and so 10 years later they upgrade. But how can we use these existing spaces? And that's what came up for me. I spent 5 years working in a planetarium science center. Then I went to work for a company that builds planetariums and science centers and museums. And, so I'm very familiar with that world. I got a little, maybe similar to me dropping out of high school, I got a little frustrated with how hard it is to transform the mindset of these are educational institutions and we must bore children to death with information, when in fact, the dome is an immersive visualization environment, right? So now I'm maybe speaking harshly, because there are a lot of innovators in this space, and many of them are focused on astronomy and space science, which is the traditional planetarium. But you think about it, astronomy and especially naked eye astronomy, looking up at the stars, which is why the planetariums were invented, is to simulate the night sky, which is beautiful and breathtaking, right, and awe-inspiring. So, but it's a one-trick pony, and a naked eye astronomy is only a narrow branch of astronomy and astrophysics, and astrophysics is one branch of physics, and physics is one branch of the sciences, and sciences is only one piece of the educational pie of humanities and all this other stuff that we that round us out as human beings. And what I see, we were talking about the evolution of human consciousness. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, simple things like mental and emotional hygiene, like ways of being that are more functional, and how to harness the power of the mind, And so when I saw your piece, William, with sparking creativity in young people, I'm like, yes, this is the energy we need to bring into these spaces. And the domes are capable of simulating
Hosting it, sure.
Yeah, spectacular kinds of experiences visually, almost like Cirque du Soleil.
Exactly.
Right, and the show can fit on a hard drive, and you just plug in the hard drive, and boom, your show gets. Now it's mostly cinema right now, so you don't have a lot of interactivity. But the way that we've been able to distribute the most is through a canned show, a programmed movie that you just plug and play. Of course, that can go along with a live presentation, but if you think about a live presentation, I don't know how many William Mazas there are in the world who could do what you do.
Oh,
maybe a few, your teacher, right?
Yeah, well, it depends what we're doing. I mean, when I did the shows in Rome with the museums, that was, I took my students with me, and we had like 20 students doing them. And we had more fun than anything. I mean, that was just like a piece of cake. That whole thing was just amazing, And we got paid from the city of Rome, which, you know, a substantial amount to do it, you know. And but what that was that once a year they open up the museums to everybody free, one night in the museum. And there were 130 museums. They wanted to put entertainment in every museum. Now there were writers, there were musicians, there were cello players, whatever they were, you know, hanging around. But they gave me 5 shows, five venues. I couldn't do all 5 because I only had, I just couldn't do it. It was at the same time, one on top of the other. So I took 3. And I got the biggest stage show. And then that was very successful. Thinking about planetariums, thinking about that. Now I've been to the one in Boston 100 years ago. I shouldn't say that. Well, but I remember that. Remember sitting down. I know. I remember sitting down and looking at the stars and seeing the whole show at the the Museum of Science. I remember those days. And I was thinking about trying to tag it together with dice. Dice are like round. They're geodesic in some sort of form. Planets that come out and they explode with random elements. I could put down the shooting board in 5 minutes here. I'm just saying that I see an amazing thing, and you could tag this with all your concepts in California as far as sustainability and any type of a topic you want to do. And the results that I've been having with this thing here, right, are pretty amazing, because the whole thing is that people, kids that I teach, and I teach kids that are analytical people, that they come to the table, you know, you say, how many people know how to create? No one raises the hand, because they don't know how, because we don't know. Because in high school, when I was in high school back here in Boston, they never said to us, tonight, when you guys go home for high school, I want you to study the presidents. But when you study, you have to study like this, think in this way, think of course, you know, finding. Nobody said anything. They just said, go home and think of the presidents. So there was no structured actual thinking program involving. And now we have critical thinking, we have mindful thinking, we have all kinds of different types of thinking, structured methods. And that they're mostly offered now. But what I teach basically is something very, very simple. I don't go deep into the thing. I have dice. I have 10 dice, gear dice, I call them, different shapes and forms. One is all colors, shapes, forms, attitudes, textures, sounds, odors, whatever. And rolling them, we get a hybrid, you know, one-liner on everything. And with those words, we try to imagine a product, or we try to imagine a relationship, or we try to imagine a theater, or we try to imagine a fashion element. And to tell you the truth, it's just amazing the results that are coming out. And now, so what I do is I open up minds to these kids. I shouldn't say it like that. I'm just but I'm really and truly, these kids, they come to the table, they don't know how to think like that, because it's all about distracting. Example, you know, you tell somebody to create, everybody's got so many things on their mind. I got to pay my daughter's college, I got to pay the rent here, the car here, and my mother's sick. And, you know, you say to somebody with all this stuff going on, oh, by the way, you got to think of something original. How are you going to do that? So what happens, they start thinking, and they get to the first stop sign, they go, oh my God, and they go back and forth. But to get them out of the web of these problems or issues, not problems, how do you do it? You got to distract them. Well, with a kid with all this stuff going on, you find out your father died. Boom, he's gone, he's out, and nothing else is important, because he's engaged, he's focused, he's connected. His mind is engaged in the immediate problem. And that's how I do it, by provoking these kids with weird elements that, you know, they're not new elements, they're colors, shapes, and textures. But if you put them together in a strange way and ask to create a toothbrush with those things, everything's strange. So that's the distraction part. Yep. When I get them distracted, boom, they're online, and then we go with the program. So I don't know, but I think that there's so many interesting things. Your medium, and you know, you guys, your other ideas that you guys got out there, I think you can put together an amazing looking show. I really do. I'm saying we're launching this with Inger in we call it the Nordic Academy, where there's 10 courses, and they're creative thinking, the visual awareness, the art of noticing, the different types of things that are interesting. And so that's what we're trying to do. I don't know. I'm willing to do anything you guys want. I think that we could do something amazingly cool. I really do.
We should. We're obliged to do something. And you're right. It's like creativity at the center. So we can really create a unexpected local community center that's a new version of something. And
That's what's coming.
yeah. So
And-
so
and-
if you have the idea to see how you can transfer and work in partnership with the domes, and Bill has the theater experience to have an interactive plays with working with the improvised theater stages, with the dices, with the problems, with the inner work, and then at the same as the background is telling a interactive story, part of that one.
They're actually, in essence, they're portals. The portals. That's what they're probably going to transfer to. Meaning, I've seen these in some of the high schools here in Massachusetts, but it's not like what I envisioned doing, like a space capsule with all kinds of screens in the side where kids go in, jump in, they pay one hour's worth of talking to the world, and there's a program inside of these things. But those kinds of things that you do could be really cool little domes all over the place, like little bubbles, go in there, put your credit card in, go inside, have an experience, get out. I mean, I see those things in shopping malls, and I think it's a portal of what you're thinking. I'm not sure.
It's all coming. I'm a bit of an influencer in the space, and what I've been promoting is, what we're talking about here is the creative use of these spaces. And what's unique about the domes, like VR, and in some ways the dome's even more powerful than putting a headset on, because the headset is a limited field of view in front of you that pans, whereas the dome is wide, instantaneous field of view. So you really get a sense of motion. People, when you just rotate the image on the dome, people will hold on to their chairs.
Oh, well, I did too. Yeah. No.
But it's what we need are creative people such as yourselves to come into this space and innovate new kinds of programming. And so I'm out there beating the bushes for money to make this happen. But this is probably best. It's not like an investor is going to be that interested in the creative placemaking activities and things like that. It's really more of grants and foundations, and and we do have a nonprofit here, but to get a sizable grant, in the U.S. anyway, it's difficult. So I don't quite know the way forward to make these things happen, but I certainly can catalyze and instigate and connect. And speaking of connections, I just put in the chat the Charles Hayden Planetarium in Boston.
Yes,
it's actually one of the most innovative dome theaters that I know. And they probably rival what we've done here in LA. I mean, we've done ballets, we've done just about anything you can think of, Bollywood shows with dancers and all kinds of crazy stuff. These guys, they had a drag queen thing. They have this adult program at night, and they just play and innovate and experiment. So, now the kid shows are just, push the button and you run this movie and the voice of God speaks to you, and 1969 man landed on the moon, and it's exciting to the kids because it's immersive and like that. But I do think, and what you mentioned, colors and excitement and distraction, the domes take over your nervous system.
Oh yeah, surely,
right?
It's amazing.
And so then
Exploration.
The question is, what do you do with that power? You need to use it in a creative way that, and as an engineer, one of the big pushes in science centers and museums like that is STEM: science, technology, engineering, and math. And of course, we're all pushing for STEAM, where you put arts in there too, right?
Right.
But what I tell people, I'm like, look, I'm an engineer, but what got me interested in studying science, technology, engineering, and math is not science, technology, engineering, and math. I wanted to build a rocket ship. I wanted to figure out how to make a race car. I wanted to make things, and that's the motivation. And so, and so the math and all that, those are just the tools. it's sort of like trying to get someone interested in race cars by showing them a ratchet and saying, well, let's teach you the ratchet, and then now let's teach you the pliers. Now let's teach you this. And the kid just wants a race car, like, I want to play with the race car, So instead of teaching the tools or emphasizing the tools, let's put that aside and say, what is your vision? What is your dream? How would you like to contribute to making a better world? And now that's the carrot that can lead them through, learning the science and technology tools to accomplish their vision. So that's the gist of it from my thinking. But I'd be happy to connect you maybe with the Boston Planetarium. There's also in Norway, Inger. There's
Norway in Oslo in Colosseum.
I'm looking at the list of them. There's.
And have you been doing projection on walls and outside in the same way? Because there's two museum opening up in Oslo.
A bitmap.
One is the Munch Museum, and the other one is the National Museum, and it's the biggest museum investments in Europe, in Oslo next year. So I know the curator, and I know they do have the budgets to, proposals to have some kind of interactive play on the walls outside. And then the second and the third thing that is happening in Oslo is actually the Contiki Museum, being in 2025 finished, and it's the same. It's the Snøhetta architect, same as the in Alexandria. So I believe that for next year I would be able to allocate partnership with Egypt to work for the 20-year celebration of the Lyra, Alexandria, and Planetarium, and really have pilot things also on the African continent. And as I know from I'm part of I'm a project manager for the Erasmus project called Creativity, Collaborative Culture, plus Combat Climate Change. So we do have like a 2 years lead all the way till January 2023 as to present a cool distributed event from Italy, Copenhagen, Oslo, with climate, or solving like a climate challenge, or Nate, you want to say something?
Yeah. Speaking of, how are the SDG soccer balls coming along?
I tell you something. The SDG soccer balls, the footballs, and the thing. I think we can make something happening in Stockholm from next summer for 2022. It's going to be the whole Stockholm is going to be Wall Street, and it's the art Wall Street moves to Stockholm, and it's going to be an art exhibition in the city. And that's to celebrate United Nations Environmental Program. And the Dome in Stockholm just changed the name. So there's going to be a People's Conference next year, and we're working with the initiative 2022. That's why with Bill's sparkling power of creativity comes forward, like, let's do something at the Code 22.
Yeah, that's a cool project we're working on.
Yeah, it's a cool project. And we're saying that then we can try to make a street football thing. So you're making the game of football like a theater thing. So you're having like the big dice and strange footballs and the SDGs, like really like a Cirque du Soleil, like a modern circus theater with some kind of a display. It's not yet, but we have to work on them. And when it comes to the football, they want me to place an order on what kind of footballs, how to do it, but I need to think it through, because it must be a ball game outside the norms of ordinary game. It has to be like a crazy thing. It should be. I think we should use the method.
Because Bill's templates work so well, and he's got a lot of engagement and acceptance from a wide variety, even just as a sample or a test, what if those templates got transposed onto the soccer balls. They're essentially the same patterns anyway. It's a great pattern or template that could be bridged across from one type of tangible to another type of tangible and implemented within those realms. Like the soccer balls, for example, could include the quests, different types of thought experiments and engagements like Bill's been doing, and passed as like a challenge to another team or another location, like
another location.
One town versus another town, as kind of like a tournament style thing, using the templates that Bill's come up with. And then Ed has this virtual on the ground type environment where you're portaling into this space, and then you're also bringing in these other people that have the globes, which are kind of like the inverse of the domes, where it could be used like a navigator, your local navigator and compass of wherever the troubles might be or the activities, wherever your next quest or check mission is. And then there's other people like Civil X working in the VR Unity augmented reality space, where from this mind right here, I'm imagining it as kind of like a bridge between the on the ground stuff with the sports and the dice in the theaters and the museums and everything that could also go over into the the sports tracks and fields, and that the VR space bridges between there and the augmented reality where you could drive traffic and those quests and everything, as well as the immersive environment that's more on a physical space, like with the domes.
I think
and that could bridge back out over into the real world with like on the wall in an alley or something like that.
Yeah, I think definitely, Nate, and to all of us, like if we do this well, I think we actually, the creativity, the creative capital and the visionary power that we have, we can create magic and also good money in what we do.
Right.
I think,
And then have the labyrinth everywhere.
Just extending out from the Civil X side is like they're doing Solar Punk magazine, which like Lyra has an upcoming interview with both someone over at Solar Punk magazine as well as Co-Creation magazine
out of Australia.
And they're involved with intentional communities. They're big on the sustainable development goals in all kinds of areas, including art, theater, entertainment, all these wonderful things, as well as they're now starting up a comic.
And we're not just limiting to sustainable development goals here, because there is the push for more generative and regenerative development goals as well. From a agricultural perspective, sustainable and regenerative are the same, because when you are doing sustainable agriculture, you're basically composting the waste, making sure to re-nitrate the soil, have fallow ground for that to happen wildly, and then be able to have like natural elements in order to deal with the pests and weeds, right? Pest and weed maintenance is supposed to be organically sourced. We have geese, but so from a perspective of being an agricultural, organic agriculturalist, the idea here is that we just want to expand on what the UN has done. It's not like we're allying with the UN. We're doing this process of educating the people not only on the issues, which in the United States, most Americans do not even know what the SDGs stand for. Okay, that's a serious crime. So we're looking at being able to create that soul city that's going across the country and across the world, that's going to be providing all of these opportunities for the area. So that would also have to be culturally influenced, demographically influenced, you know, because there are those different layers that we're looking at. But if we can start something in the United States and Norway and Sweden, you know, where we already have somewhat of a foothold, then we can start expanding on that and being able to make this immersive action process happen. It's not just, oh, I'm looking at this, but no, there's information I'm downloading from this video or this experience, and then I'm taking it to where I go, where I live, what I'm doing.
Absolutely. I'm here now it's 8 o'clock, no, 7 o'clock in the evening, and the sun is going to be up, I say, at 11 o'clock. So this kind of the Nordic spark, and, you know, in this time of COVID now, to heal, you know, there's some places on the planet like India and Asia, it's like terrible. It's a horror situation. So 2022 will be the time when we really can see what's going to happen on the planet again. And if you like, if you think it's a good idea, Bill, maybe we should present this kind of the, you know, the Nordic, the compass that we're kind of building on, the Norse code, you know, this kind of and test it with this group. You know, Ed was presenting here the Viking planet. And I presented the Nordic Academy, Think Academy, the creativity spark, activating. I resonate with you, Ed, when you say that it's awe, it's happiness, it's joy. It's not like the United Nations coming here with some good ideas. It's really coming from a desire to live. You know, it's a desire to do and to be wild and to take, you know, to be creative human being. It's like someone is cutting us off from being who we are. You know, we are more creative, we're more kind, we want more good things than we actually are able to do these days. So
igniting the sparks.
This is sparks. But Ed, do you have should we present this kind of the Viking wood head?
Well, I linked you to that because that is a highly interactive digital experience. It's not a dome, but there's a big, wide immersive display and interactive exhibits. And that's something, Inger, you might want to take a look at.
I saw that.
Yeah, there's links here. I think what, you know, thinking about what you do, Ed, more and more, I was in Italy at the Academy of Fashion and Costume. And I talked to the director and he asked me if I'd like to do an event. And he said to me, he says, how much time do you need? I says, my workshops are 6 hours. He goes, oh my God. He says, could you do it in 2 minutes? And I says, what do you mean? And he said, 2 minutes. He says, do you ever hear of impact learning? And it made so much sense. And, you know, it's sort of like, it connects me to what you got going. Because if you were to go into a theater and there was no lights, and all of a sudden a Doberman like that, stop, you forever will be afraid of any Doberman or even a little poodle that you see on the road that just happened in a flash. And he made so much sense that communicates. So you're thinking about, you know, the total immersion thing, the whole, you got that 360 thing going on, and you can project. It's sort of like a placebo. It's sort of like a therapy. It can become many different things, that type of a thing. And it can do a lot of damage. Like you were saying, I remember went to one, now that I'm remembering, on the IMAX, and it was about New Zealand. And I was sitting on my seat, and all of a sudden we started going onto the ocean. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to, but the thing was, it does, the medium that you got is something pretty intense. So you could actually, even the experiences, whatever experience it wants to be, you can create almost anything within minutes. I mean, well, no.
Yeah, and you know, as these technologies get more and more powerful, you know, at simulating reality, there are definitely things you would see, as you mentioned, that would be a threat or that could happen to you in the real world. that would cause trauma, PTSD, nightmares, whatever, that you can now simulate and trick the brain into thinking it's real in the virtual world. So, this is one of the things that I speak about, that it's just something that I think anybody producing content really in any format ought to be thinking about. How is this affecting other people? And right. And so when we bring artists, directors, performers into these spaces, what we tell them is that, look, you're playing an instrument, and that instrument happens to be the nervous systems of the audience. And you want to respect people's nervous system, and think of it that way, because a lot of artists just want to express, and they'll do crazy things that, like, people leave the theater, like, oh no, with their brain scrambled, and that could be fun for the young kids, like that kind of thing. But the idea is to use the power of the format intentionally to cause a positive shift of some way, so that people are elevated when they leave, empowered, inspired, and the format it's a tool sitting there waiting to be used in these powerful ways. And so that's why, William, when I saw your work, I'm like, oh, this could translate very well to this format. So anyway, just I do probably need to run here. I have a guest coming over on the hour. But I would just say, maybe just we plant a seed and get you thinking a little bit about it.
This is perfect.
Yeah, and then check out, the Boston. I could introduce you to the folks up there if you like.
But just a question, Ed, for you: is it like within the scope to really work with pufferfish for COP26 in Glasgow? Is that something within your interest, or what is like closer to where you want to see an overlap, how we can build and to get funding?
I think, speaking of my interest, I'm working very hard to, bring both capital into this space, and creative minds into this space, and developers, or even become a developer if that's what it takes, to build dedicated arts and entertainment and education institutions that are not bound by astronomy and all like that. So, but these can be baby steps on the way towards that. This is a bigger plan than me. I'll be off the planet, and it's still going to be unfolding, right? But yeah, anything I can do to help bring content. I'm very focused on the domes, the projection mapping thing. It's kind of been there, done that. And I've done pop-up domes for many years for corporate, large 200-foot diameter domes with thousands of people.
Wow, my God.
Concerts, yeah, EDM parties, all that. So that's the service provider, right? Oh, how can I help you? And it's really my highest path is to be in service. But to be in service to a corporate brand is not the same, and flying logos around or whatever is not the same as really what I see the potential. I want to unlock the potential of immersive media format. And we have such a network of artists already in the space. And we're doing a film festival in LA this year.
Oh, good.
That's actually, yeah, we partner with 4 other film festivals, 4 total. There's Jena, Germany, and then also Munich is working with them. There's Melbourne, Australia, and the UK, Plymouth, UK, Dome there. These are film festivals, and we're collaborating on a Best of Earth award, right? So the best dome show on the planet, kind of thing. So, these are things that I'm working to do to, promote the space. Mm-hmm.
But also another thought, just to, I don't want to interrupt. I have a friend in Spain who does a lot of podcasting. And what he does is he's from the New Art School, and he interviews people. And he interviewed me. I've been podcasted. What about doing dome casting? Meaning,
yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh, it's firmly in our business plan. In fact, that's where things really get interesting. You know, the challenge that we have is the planetariums are not standardized, and there's multiple vendors and these systems. You know, that's one of the reasons for wanting to build new facilities with all the kit that you need to do live programming, which most of them don't have stage lights or anything like that, right? They don't have a stage, you know, some of them. So, you know, to purpose-built theaters where you can, so what's interesting is the neurology between the domes, right? And you can start having global events. You can, you know, like on the sort of more spiritual side, like meditation coherence, you know, and you can have bio feedback even built into the chairs. You start
pretty. This is pretty deep. There's so much.
Non-contact heart rate monitor. You can build it in a chair very easily and do heart rate variability for the group of people, and then have meditation, you know, events, or I don't know, you know, it's like I can't do it all, and so I'm really just working to build the infrastructure that can contain those kinds of things. Yeah.
But in 2002, I produced the conference event inside the conference hall of the Library of Alexandria, and then I made the kids having their base group according to the philosophers. So they had like Pythagoras and all those 7 philosophers at the ancient time. So they were kind of like avatars, and then the kids invented creative projects on climate and sustainability based on conversation with those philosophers. So this is also part of the, you know, I can know that idea that you have with avatars and, you know, the talking wisdoms, word of wisdom.
This is where it also, you mentioned dome casting. Dome casting is where you sort of have a show in one dome, you put a fisheye camera in there, you capture the whole experience, everything that's on the dome, on the stage, everything. And then you can broadcast that out to multiple domes at the same time. Where it really starts to get progressive is when you look at the dome as a portal into the metaverse. So you can have people sitting at home, put on a headset, they're controlling an avatar, maybe it's just a dance party or something, and their avatar is dancing, but they're dancing on a dome in London, you know, or whatever. You know, so when you put on the headset, you see all these spheres, and one sphere is a party in London, and one's a San Francisco, and you know, like that, and you can choose. And when you enter it, you're in it, and you see what's happening, and you can participate.
Are you able to do this? All these things?
It is doable now. It's not been fully demonstrated, but the thing about these domes is it's technology. It's expensive.
I bet it is. In fact, that was going to be a question. I'm not going to ask that now, but I guess we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars just to even get something off the ground.
Yeah, easily. For sure. And I'm a designer. I've done it. You know, I can. And there are some projects. I mean, the interest has really picked up since as the pandemic is passing. It's a great time to launch something new, right? And especially something that makes you feel good, which people need. You know, so.
And gives you that inspiration to actually go out and do something, you know, afterwards. That's an important thing that
get off the couch.
Yeah, so it is like with that big vision of the dome casting as an idea, that is a question where is going to be the pilot for that dome cast with the story of the dice and the interactive, and to spark that creativity as a purpose, intentional purpose.
Yeah, and it's been done. I mean, it's not like it hasn't been done, but you know, to have a network, you know, it's one thing to do a technical demo, you know, it's another thing to have an actual operating infrastructure that is serving the public. And you know, this is really where I'm most focused. You know, the one-off events are great, and you know, I'm all for supporting, especially climate change type events like that that you're doing. But what I'm really hoping for is solid infrastructure that can serve the masses. And what you have with the digital domes, it's there. The infrastructure is there. Every city has a digital dome, just about. And So what can we create that can plug in and actually impact tens of millions of people, maybe 100 million people annually? You know, that's the kind of reach that we could have with these venues.
So what we're doing is basically renting out space in these digital domes all over the world here. And with the program that you put together, we can publish it anyway. So we actually have to create a program that can be going out to all these places, I guess. I'm trying to understand.
Well, there's two ways to distribute. The four-walling, the renting of the venue for the evening is how we're doing the entertainment programming. So Mesmerica, that's the sort of transformational, uplifting, focused on happiness and joy. That show's done very well. It's grossed 10 million over about 18 months up to the pandemic.
Wow.
Right, and that was a $30 average ticket. It's a 1 hour show, and we're just selling out. All the shows are selling out. So people love it and it works. But we do have to, because these theaters don't know how to market entertainment programs. Most of them don't know how to market at all. You go to a planetarium show in most towns, and there's 3 people sitting there.
Really?
Unless it's a school group. The bus comes in. But can you get the door tape?
Yeah, okay, there you go.
I need to run.
All right. Well, thank you, Ed, for recording this meeting. When you have a chance, would you please upload it to that video file we have shared with you
In the Google Drive.
in the Google Drive?
Okay, maybe refresh that link for me when you get a chance.
Sure, not a
Thank you,
problem.
Ed.
And this is great
So
good to
since
connect.
the beginning. So thank you all for being here, talking about how we can collaborate to make it amazing everywhere.
Before we
Awesome.
close, just really quick, I think between even just the 4 of us, 4 of our screens, we don't have to worry about funding. Let's just get the stuff put together in where each of everybody's projects complement another, come up with a few different concepts and how we might present it to someone that wants to fund it, right? Whether it's a government or a grant or whatever. We already have like 3 different people that are saying, show us what you got and we can throw some money at it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I look forward to continuing the conversation. Cheers.
Cheers.
Have a
Thanks.
great evening, afternoon, and day.
Bye.